Romo for Center for Model Schools. He's the Center for Model Schools. So we're doing item C, Center for Model Schools. Perfect. Deputy Superintendent Francisco Romo.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam President, Superintendent Stocking, fellow colleagues and meeting members, thank you very much. I'd like to actually call up our principals so they can be side by side with me as I go over the presentation. This is a storyboard that we have here, so will you please join me?
There you go.
Yes, and you can stand right by me so that way you don't stand behind me, that way. Stand side by side. So if you can just make a line right by each other. Thank you, awesome. Thank you very much for coming. Excited to give you an update on Center for Model Schools. We also have the consultant from Center for Model Schools, Adam, right over to the left. So any questions that you might have at the very end. Let's get started. Merced City Schools in partnership with Center for Model Schools update. Next slide. So just so that you know, there's a couple different components. The first component that we're going to talk about is the professional learning. And there's a total of 5 sessions. We've been able to do 2 sessions for cohort A, cohort B, that revolved around understanding the 5 essentials and building trust. In terms of that work, there was a September 18th when we asked the Center for Model Schools, there's other people that we would want to participate in this. And that would be other district office folks, coordinators and directors, because if we're gonna go on this framework of the 5 essentials, then we should have other people besides just our fabulous principals, teacher leaders taking place. So what you see there is actually the timeline of the training that's been done thus far. On October 29th and October 30th, both these cohorts, cohort A and cohort B, the topic was around fostering environments and leadership and the creation of successful environments. So these were the topics that were covered in the professional learning of the first 2 sessions. Next slide. So after each session, Center for Model Schools does do a survey. The survey is essentially the same questions. Total overall score, 93%. Useful, can implement, 92%. Have another session with this presenter, 95%. And recommend to a colleague, 93%. Now this doesn't mean the idea of attendance. This has to do on a scale from 1 to 0 in terms of what the belief in terms of the people participating. The people who took this survey would be principals, teacher leaders, and district office as well who participate in the professional learning. As you could see, one of the qualitative statements was, it made me realize how important trust is to a school campus and how we can't really work on anything else until it is in place. And you're gonna hear some more qualitative information just from our principals coming up. Next slide. So besides the coaching, besides the professional development, there's a coaching component. Each campus has a full day in-person coaching. And so it goes something like this in terms of the cadence. Professional development, then the coaching. Professional development, then the coaching. So as you can see here, the idea of the first session in terms of coaching took place September 15th through the 19th. There was a virtual check-in, again PD, and then the virtual coaching that took place the week of November 3rd through the 7th. Next slide, please. So after each coaching session, there's also a survey. So this is specifically just for principals to give feedback on the coaching. And you can see the overall scores for total overall, useful, come implement score, have another session with this coach, their coach, and recommend to a colleague. And some of the qualitative feedback that one I'll point out is, it was a positive, thoughtful, eye-opening, and allowed me to look at our current teaching through a variety of lenses. I believe it will provide us the opportunity to examine a variety of ways to develop and grow as an educational team. You'll hear much more from our principals on that. Next slide. So how does the 5 essentials work in terms of the framework? Well, it's around five essentials: effective leaders, collaborative teachers, involved families, supportive environment, and ambitious instruction. And the numbers you see there on the bar graph is 9 principals chose effective leaders as their category of focus. 8 chose collaborative teachers, 7 chose involved families, 6 chose supportive environments, and 7 chose ambitious instruction. Next slide. So each campus was asked to choose 1 to 3 of the essentials to focus on first. So we had one principal who chose 3 essentials. We had 17 principals who chose 2 essentials, and 1 principal who chose 1 essential. Next slide. So, and by essentials, it means this framework. So that you can see right here. This is the framework of the Center for Model Schools. And so when we mentioned those and the principals choosing 1 or 2 or 3, it was the exact of this framework. That supports principal capacity. Again, that supports principal capacity. And they'll talk about that coming up. Next slide. So we wanted to provide some qualitative data. I mean, in terms of us working here. So this was done, again, principals, teacher leaders, and district office working side by side. The first graphic that you see there about effective leaders, the task was to describe it in a visual way. In terms of how that was described, the umbrella, as the team talked about, is the principals. And the stem is the students and the staff that holds up the umbrella. So that was kind of the piece on that one. On the right-hand side, collaborative teachers, you could see collaborative teachers talking about students and then they're talking about data. So you could see that graphic on the page. Next slide. The involved families, this was a nice graphic. The idea is that the school is the center. It's the hub. For most of our communities, that is the place. And you can see all roads lead back to the school. To have involved families. On the right-hand side, you have ambitious instruction. You have 2 teachers talking there about the 5 essentials. You can see the framework there. Talking about student data, the resources, and students learning from the teachers. Turn the page. Again, July 28th and August 1st talk about building trust. And some of the things here in terms of trust, in terms of the activity, was that trust around honesty has to be authentic, real, and safe. Turn the page. The idea of benevolence, morning check-in, knowing the values of individual students, respecting each other's perspectives and feelings, no public ridicule, and drawing on culture. So you can see this is the information that was being brought up in terms of as we dug into the framework. An openness, being vulnerable, honest, transparent. Turn the next slide. The reliability, in terms of what was talked about, clear expectations, clarification, what it looks like, follow through, relevant support, consistency. And on the competency side, have real-time knowledge of what's going on in the classroom, participate in staff development. And by participating in staff development, it means principals, teacher leaders, and district office side by side. You know, if there's anything that walked that way in terms of the piece on trust, we can't wait. The students cannot wait for the adults to figure out the trust. So the idea of intentionally planning for it and taking a journey through this to accelerate trust is essential in terms of this work. Next slide. October 28th, 29th, and 30th, the activity here centered around fostering supportive environments. This graphic that you see here in terms of the team was talking about a tree that has parent voice, family access, welcoming, fostering connection, strong parent engagement equals student success. Next slide. Then we dug into research, supporting social, emotional, academic development, research implications for educators. Chapter 1, the main things were around behavioral, emotional, and cognitive development. Chapter 2, around connection, the whole child, so that students are prepared for the workforce. Chapter 3 had to do with high levels of teacher support with rigorous instruction and student-centered instruction. Next slide. Chapter 3 had to do with belonging. This had to do a lot with focusing on the child. This was about the child belonging. A growth mindset. Chapter 4 had to do with this idea of preventive measures. You can see on the right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen on the board, community, the symptoms that may include tardiness, absenteeism, emotions, physical appearance, avoidance, attention seeking. That's typical of what a typical year might look like. But what we've kind of seen that this is very much true today is meltdowns, explosive behavior, self-inflicted harm, suspension, expulsion. So chapter 4 really dug into that and the idea of how can we come up with some preventive measures. And that was the graphic there in terms of the team. Next slide. So still to come, 5 essential survey is going to be given out to parents, students, and teachers, or anybody who's directly connected to education is going to be in that realm. January 13th to the 15th, January 13th to February 6th. Continue virtual check-ins. There's going to continue the full day in-person coaching. There is going to be a data and root cause analysis survey that's going to be done April 29th and 30th. And of course, in June is already planning for the following year. Last slide. I want to leave you the idea, this is the whole piece on what it looks like. We just sent this out to principals to share with their staff so that they can know, here's a principal, here's a teacher lead, here's a coach, and then a fellow cabinet member or somebody from the district office that supports. There's more than those that are on right-hand side participating. There's assistant superintendent participating, directors, coordinators, myself, superintendent Stocking in this. The idea here is that it's a whole team working side by side, and I've done enough talking, so let's hear from the principals themselves.
Why are you looking at me? No, I'm not it.
Go for it. Go for it.
I'm not waiting. Why investing in principals matters. Principals are the #1 driver of school improvement. Research through the UC Chicago Consortium Wallace Foundation shows principals are second only to teachers in their impact on student achievement. But unlike a classroom teacher, a principal influences every student, every classroom, and every teacher, creating a powerful multiplier effect. A strong principal equals a strong school. Principal coaching is a high return investment. Coaching through the Center for Model Schools strengthens the daily leadership behaviors that drive improvement. Clarity of expectations, consistent follow-through, stronger instructional leadership, and more effective systems and routines. This is one of the highest return on investment strategies because one leader's growth impacts the entire building. Strong principal leaders lead to measurable outcomes. Well-supported principals create conditions that lead to higher student achievement, improved school climate, stronger and more consistent instruction, and reduced teacher turnover. Effective principals stabilize a school, reduce disruptions, and ensure programs like PBIS, MTSS, literacy initiatives, and social emotional learning are implemented with fidelity. Leadership stability matters for students. Schools with strong principals experience less teacher turnover and greater instructional coherence. Leadership stability is directly linked to academic stability. Coaching helps principals stay in the role longer, grow faster, and maintain the systems that drive student success. Investing in principals is investing in students. Every initiative the board supports, literacy, behavior systems, inclusion, attendance, academic acceleration, depends on our ability to lead it. When principals receive high-quality coaching, the entire school benefits. The staff feels supported, families experience consistency, and students receive stronger instruction and better outcomes. Principal development is one of the most strategic, cost-effective ways to raise student achievement. The bottom line for the board, strong principals transform campuses. Coaching ensures leaders have the skills that we need, the systems and support to execute your vision, our vision. The return reaches every classroom, every student, every day. If we want strong schools, we must invest in strong principals. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on. Come on. You don't have to.
I just didn't want to go first. That's all. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I'm working on just so that you can kind of see it from that viewpoint. So I decided to drill it down to 2 things this year. So becoming a better leader and building stronger, more collaborative teachers. So my coach is Linda McClinton, and I love her. She's been a game changer. The best part is that she looked at my site through an unbiased lens. This is huge. She created an open space for me to honestly share everything, all my current strengths, all of my biggest concerns. Through this honest reflection, she didn't tell me what to do, but instead she helped me figure out my own leadership style and helped to guide the conversation so that I could nail down exactly what I needed to do to run my site more effectively. That shift has totally changed how I use, or I'm deciding to use, our school's vision. Now, it's not just some nice statement that's going to hang up on a wall, right? But it's going to guide everything we do. It's going to guide how our teacher teams use data and assessments, and make sure that we are giving genuinely rigorous instruction that helps us to figure out our next steps with interventions that really work. I'm talking about support for every kid, the ones who need a solid reteach, the ones that just need some extra practice, or the ones who are ready for that deep dive challenge. I realize that this is just the start, but for the first time in my career, I genuinely feel like pumped, amped. I'm confident that I'm going to make our site's vision truly come alive, create professional learning communities that are truly purpose-driven, and make sure that every single child at Peterson has the opportunity and the chance to thrive. So I really want to thank you guys for providing principals, both veteran principals and the ones new to the position, with the side-by-side support so that we can continue to refine and develop our craft. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Medlin.
Good evening. I too have the pleasure of working with Linda and working as far as deciding on which goals we have for Gibbons. We have, excuse me, sorry. What I thought initially, as far as what our core measures would be that we would select within our school, targeting ambitious instruction, recognizing that I needed to back it up a little bit as far as what does an effective leader look like, and that collaborative process with the teachers. And so working with Linda, she helped to develop our stories too, and it is very vulnerable in establishing that trust and our vulnerabilities, which there is no shame in what we may or may not know and what we want to move forward towards. And so with that, I too have selected effective leaders, and in reviewing that with her as far as what programs we have, what our practices are, recognizing and acknowledging all that we already have currently in place with our iReady, our RTI, our AVID, PLCs, GBC, Hegarty, UFly, SIPS, PBIS, ELD. Then we add in what I'm so blessed that we are able to have this year, especially as we're gaining momentum, implementation of good professional development that we have not had in many years, including our Sown to Grow, IXL, Universal Design for Learning, our NWEA MAP pilot program, M-Class Dibbles, Restorative Justice League, Playworks, Learning Ally through Project Read, Letters, and then Project Read UFly. So when we look at that, and Linda then asked me, after asking, what are we going to focus on? What is your goal? And I said, well, she said, we need to decide and triangulate what that goal is and what we are going to do in order to align all of those programs to impact student achievement. Because while it is a lot and it is quite taxing, it also is what is best for student achievement. And so having her help to focus with that goal for effective leaders has been nothing short but remarkable. My second goal is collaborative teachers and taking a look at those practices that we have as far as our peer-to-peer observations, our PLCs, our reading intervention, GBC, planning, collaboration with RTI, and Sown to Grow, recognizing that in order to get to that ambitious instruction and rigor that was my initial thought, we need to back it up through effective leaders and collaborative teachers. And so with that, planning what our next data analysis will look like at our staff meeting actually planned for tomorrow, our RTI practices, what is our entry and exit across the board as a collective. What are we agreeing to are non-negotiables for each grade level that we're expecting for those grade levels. As all of this is being implemented, things change. And so then what are we doing to meet those changes and needs? So again, echoing the words that Sarah shared as well, nothing but short, but just remarkable and be able to have that focus and drive and moving forward for our students and teachers and leaders. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Farrar. Who can speak?
All right, my coach is Sarah Pierce, and she has been awesome and very much like their coach. It's nice to have a thought partner right there who is, you can be totally open, and they understand and they see you in action, the school in action, the teachers in action. They're very personable, approachable, have contact with the teachers, the students. So when they're on campus, it's just not us in my office. We're out and about, and we're living and breathing what's going on, so they can really be that thought partner in helping us. And so tonight I would like to briefly highlight how this partnership is supporting progress towards Stoll's two school-wide goals. Our first one is collaborative teachers. This goal focuses on building a strong culture of collaboration and shared instructional practices. Percent of Stoll teachers will participate in a complete instructional feedback cycle, which includes instructional rounds, a pre-observation meeting, a classroom observations, and feedback conversation using our new Stoll walkthrough tool, which is being developed by the whole team, all teachers. So we know what's on there, and we know what we all agree to be happening, and we're gonna go and see each other in action and support each other. This walkthrough tool is aligned to both district instructional priorities and Stoll's universal design for learning practices. So we're trying to be in our classrooms, ensuring consistency and clarity about what high quality instruction looks like in every classroom. Our second goal is supportive environment. So our second goal focuses on strengthening our Tier 1 instruction and creating a more supportive environment for all learners through the implementation of UDL strategies. By May 2026, 100% of Stoll teachers will be at least at the beginning stage of implementing UDL practices to some extent, and will be able to explain how UDL influences their daily instructional decisions to support personalization instruction at Tier 1 and differentiated small group instruction as well. So across both goals, Center for Model School provides leadership coaching to strengthen our internal capacity, collaborative planning and data analysis aligned with the 5 essential framework, instructional rounds and learning walks that promote shared understanding of effective instruction, structures for continuous improvement to ensure our systems are sustainable. This partnership is helping us to move from isolated practices to a unified school-wide approach that supports consistency, equity, and student-centered learning. In closing, the Center for Model Schools partnership has already brought clarity, coherence, and a deeper focus to our instructional work at Don Stoll. We have clear goals, we're aligning our systems, and have strong support to ensure sustainability. Thank you for your time and continued support in this effort.
All right, looks like I get to bring it home, huh? All right, so just from a perspective of a newer administrator, newer to Merced City School District. That's right. It has been a very valuable experience. The support and guidance from the Center for Model Schools has given me a framework in leading school improvement. Sarah, who's also my coach, helped provide a roadmap that allows me to prioritize our efforts and focusing on meaningful instructional growth, both for teachers and students. One of the most impactful parts of this experience has been the one-on-one coaching with Sarah. We developed our 2 goals under ambitious instruction and involved families. She has guided me in involving families as part of our team and ensuring that our school improvement efforts engage and support the entire community. She also walked me through the full cycle of improvement, providing feedback on data, identifying root causes, and making actionable decisions. She introduced me to tools that have been crucial in helping me make evidence-based decisions rather than relying on assumptions. I even invited her to our instructional leadership team meeting, and she gave me specific feedback on ways to improve my facilitation as a leader. Most importantly, I think that this sends a message to our staff and our teachers that everybody can grow in an area, and us as leaders are also growing, right? And so we're being intentional about that, and so I really appreciate the opportunity to get one-on-one coaching. And yeah, it's been a great experience so far, and thank you.
Thank you. Are there any? Thank you all so much for presenting and staying. Is there an ending, or do we, right?
Okay, that concludes the part on Center for Model Schools. If you have any specific questions, we do have Adam here. What essentially we wanted to be able to show is kind of the background of 5 Essentials. That was the presentation, but the qualitative data from the principals, enthusiasm, that's what we really wanted you to see. And do you have any questions? The part there, I hope that you're just as proud as I am, and I think that Center for Model Schools, I saw Adam over there. If he had glasses, they would probably be fogging up because he was probably pretty proud of the idea of there. And Merced City Schools is getting a lot of noise from Center for Model Schools for what we're doing in terms of the principals, teacher leaders, but also the idea of the support from the district office. Any questions from the board?
Thank you. Before we ask questions, Ms. Gates, do we have any callers in the queue for this item?
President Lackaretti, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you. Do we have any in-person comments for this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments about this presentation. Trustee Jean.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you. We talked about it, and now actually you guys are doing it. So I just want to say thank you for the in-depth presentations and its benefits. I'm glad to see that it was a very rewarding experience and learning for all of you. And 96%, that's pretty big. 96% recommendations to some of your colleagues can continue on. So for me, that's pretty big. And all of you have a lot of things to say that it's important for you to get the skills and get this coaching. So I'm just really happy that you have the opportunity to do a lot of good stuff and making the impact in our school. I just want to let you know that you guys are the most impacting person I've seen, because your ability to really impact our students, our parents, the district, and our community. I remember about 5 years ago when we were doing on pandemic, and the people that I think that really glue our school district together are the principals, because we're in pandemic mode. Everybody was scared. We didn't know what we're doing, whether we go online, virtual, on-site. And I just believe that all the principals did a wonderful job. No one was prepared at the time, because it was like impromptu, right? And you have to get on your act and just start rolling and connect with everybody and just to do it. And I'm just thankful for all your leaderships. And I'm just saying the coaching was excellent. I'm really pleased to hear that it was a worthwhile investment, and I agree. In fact, I think that there's no other way to relearn some of the skills Many of you got credential, you've been in the field for a long time, but just going out there, have a sense of peer-to-peer coaching and understanding each other and really put some of the work into intentional work and really relearn that skills, to me was really powerful, and present before the board about some of your positive experiences. I just go away. So one question only. One question is, I didn't see any challenges. You talk about challenges, but there's always, when we grow, there's always challenges. What are some most difficult moment when you have to face yourself? Man, I screwed that up. Or, man, I'm not sure if I do this right. Are there any moment in those coaching time or during your time that you felt that this is something I need to relearn and get better at? And what are those areas and how can I become better? Thank you.
Anybody want to take a, wait, they're like,
We spoke.
they already spoke, so.
In terms of, and you heard a little bit from the 5 principals, they really extended trust, the idea of being able to come today, right? Truly believe. In terms of some of the challenges, you heard the idea of the various initiatives and trying to grapple with that, trying to bring a structure to that, a process. And so you heard from all 5 that helped having a coach. And some of the challenges will remain confidential, right? Right? Because it's a coaching and being vulnerable. Exactly what was being said on a couple of slides, being vulnerable with your coach and being able to there's an improvement science is called level of stuckness. And how can someone help me move out of that? And so from each one of our principals, you heard there was a level of stuckness and then that level of trust to engage with this individual that I don't even know. So if that answers your question, see, it's that level of the grappling with the various initiatives.
I would just like to say I would hope they would get to a point where they would feel comfortable sharing their vulnerabilities, because it's through that process that we as a board can learn about what we can do to improve. Because I was listening to the long list of tasks and responsibilities and having visited the different campuses in my area and seeing all of the things that these principals are navigating and then reading a book and then being taken off site and all of that, I'm just hopeful that we can find things that we can actually take off of their plate so that we don't lose them to burnout, and that maybe, shift their energy to be able to foster and mentor leaders who may be considering administration, because they do have a lot on their plates.
Great, you mentioned that, Board Member Delgado, Superintendent Stocking, and Assistant Superintendent Sergio Mendez. We're going to be meeting in winter and going through an activity about making visible all the initiatives. It's part of the work. And in my one-on-ones, because I didn't get a chance to meet with every single one of the principals, the intention is to meet a check-in, beginning, middle, and end. And we had discussions in terms of what was on their plate. So they were quite vulnerable in that piece. And so there's already plans for that. Thank you.
Any other, go ahead, trust me.
I think was one of the best things about this presentation is that you actually brought, empirical data into this as far as the principles and them going through it. And we were actually visiting Don Stoll, and I think the coach was there, and it was just amazing to see how integrated the coach is when it comes to the school. I mean, I didn't know who she was, but I thought she was part of the school until after he introduced her. So it's a wonderful thing. My question is, every principal has access to this, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then when it comes to us spending money and then, being comfortable with saying yes when it comes back up, it's always great to bring the people that are actually using the product and hear directly from them, such as the principals or something like that. So I think this is a wonderful example of moving forward on how we want the presentations from the companies that we want to, continue doing business with. We want to hear from the people that are actually using the product, which was a wonderful thing to hear. So thank you guys. Keep up the good work, and I appreciate it.
Again, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the principals who stayed pretty late and sharing your experiences. I did not realize that this was an in-person coaching. And how frequently is this coaching? How frequently do you get to meet with your coach? I don't know. Monthly,
It's monthly, like they have like 6 to 7 visits in person, and then they have the virtual check-ins in between.
Okay.
So there's multiple touch points throughout the year, in addition to the whole session professional learning with the 5 essentials themselves.
Okay.
Yep. And then that data, of course, with the 5 essentials, as you think about the strategic planning process, that can be data points that you're utilizing from the 5 essentials survey as part of that strategic planning process. And so I know that was a question you asked earlier.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our districts, if they're doing just 5 essentials, they utilize that. Some of the districts we work with, we also help them do their strategic planning. And so they utilize the 5 essentials as that framework. And then they're able to lay out those strategies, and we're able to work alongside them in those processes. So there's really 2 paths that districts can take. One, utilizing the 5 essentials in a strategic plan. And then as I said, some of our districts do both of those with us.
And then can you clarify, like, the 2 cohorts, how many in each cohort? Did you mention that?
It's there.
It's there? Yeah. Oh, maybe my eyes or my ears.
Yeah, we divvy up the principals evenly so that there could be principals in both cohorts and with their teacher leader and also district office. Very strategic.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. And you're collecting data, and you said that you'll be sending out a couple surveys. Like, are these anonymous surveys?
Yes. In December, we'll actually have during admin council, we actually have a Center for Model Schools, or actually University of Chicago, who does their research. We'll be doing a Survey 101 with our principals.
Okay.
And there's already been communication sent out. So we're going to continue to follow up December and January up to that, including our office managers. They're going to be trained on a 101 by my administrative secretary. So there's more communication coming up on that. Yes.
Okay.
So how were the principals picked to come and speak tonight? Because I noticed that I think 3 out of the 4 maybe had the same coaches. Yeah.
They all had Sarah?
How many of those principals had the same coach?
In terms of how they're chosen, great question, Board Member McClutchin. The idea is my touch. Sorry,
McCutcheon.
It's all right. It's me. Go ahead.
Yes, in terms of how they were chosen, we have a total of 18 principals, and so the idea is to get some of them in terms of to present today, and then 5 others to present in March, so that you could hear like the journey, right? Who I chose in terms of that, it was just my touch points. You know, as I'm building relationships with principals, there was an opportunity to ask certain folks that I was interacting with in the 6th through 8th grade work, or the Center for Model Schools, or in my one-on-one. So there are others that I would like, but this is a 3-year journey that we hope will build the capacity, and at some point the board will hear from each one of the principals.
So you have 6 coaches, correct? How many coaches do we have?
I believe it's 6 coaches.
6 coaches?
The 18. Yeah.
So out of the 6 coaches and the 5 principals, I noticed those principals pretty much had the same coaches, pretty much.
Yeah, 2 of our coaches were represented tonight in the feedback.
Okay, but about 3 of them or 4 out of 5 had the same coach. They kind of said that.
Yes.
So I would like to hear a mixture, not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? If you got 6 coaches and you brought 3 or 4 people with the same coach, everybody may not have that same feedback. So I would just like to hear a little bit of a mixture, if that's possible.
Yeah. Basically what she's saying, if you got 6 people, then she want to hear from 6 different people that have experiences with different coaches. Because you could have picked the great coaches today, but you know, it's all in fun. Yep.
I can assure you they're all fantastic. But yeah, point taken, because those experiences are very different. So having different principals come and share about their experiences, they all coach very differently as well. So.
And then I'm really excited to hear the teachers' feedback.
Yeah, and then, I'd like to hear more about the involved families, because, if we're trying to get our chronic absenteeism down and other stuff that we're talking about, how this really helps the school culture with families. I think that would be important to highlight. I would like to see that too.
So the April 29th and 30th session is the root cause analysis. That's where we'll spend a day going over the survey results and developing action plans based on those results. So each school will have their own independent root cause analysis done based on their survey.
School will.
Yeah, each school will do their own root cause analysis because they have their own data back from those surveys. And so we'll work alongside them for that entire day. Half of the administrative team on one day, the other half on the other day. And so we'll take them through that process where at the end of the day, they'll have highlighted specific areas and next steps. And so, for example, if involved families came back as an area of concern based on the data, then we would do a root cause analysis on the why and then build out from that process. The great news is with the root cause analysis data, that also can help inform strategic plan goals around what that looks like. So you're going to have all of the data from all of the schools and you can start to look for trends. And once you've found those trends, you then build your strategy, which then builds your activities, which then builds the implementation plan.
And will these survey results be available publicly, or is it just for like the root cause analysis presentation, whatever? Is it going to be private or is it going to be publicly shared on each school's website?
Yeah, that's a great conversation we need to have, decide what we want to do. Every district is unique on how they do that. In the state of Illinois, all of that data is public because it's part of the Illinois report card at the state level. Other places it's kept internal and then the reporting out is done externally. I always share and recommend when you get your results back to slow roll results out so people can see them over time because you're going to get a lot of data back. And so like one strategy that I share with principals is in your weekly newsletter or your monthly newsletter, you'll share 3 or 5 data points that came back from the survey and what are you doing in that process? Because if we don't share the data back, then why am I taking the survey?
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much for the information.
Yes,
Any
thank
other
you.
Questions? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too.
For the March board meeting, board members, the goal is to have some teacher leaders along with principals.
Okay, perfect.
And I will look at the balance.
Thank you. Now we move on to middle school transition report.